Moving on to our low major conference spotlight. Again, this is just kind of an opportunity to shed a little bit of light on some possible Cinderellas. We talked last week about the Big West, and with all due respect to the Big West, outside of the two teams we harped on, UC Irvine and UCSD, we are switching our attention all the way to the east side of the country, the Atlantic 10, a conference that for me, I always remember being one of the more fun. I was a big Dayton fan when I was younger because of the Flyers, but always loved me some A-10 basketball. And this year, the A-10 looks like we are definitely going to be sending VCU. They are at the top. They're 13-2 in the conference, 23-5 overall. The reason I do say that they're probably heading in is because their net ranking is 29, which is very, very favorable for them. After that, however, you're probably going to be looking for teams that are going to try to steal some bits. And that's where you find George Mason, 13-2 in the conference, 22-6 overall. Unfortunately, a net of 65. Loyola Chicago and Sister Jean, unfortunately, their net of 107 is tough considering they have a 19-9 record, 10-5 overall. And then a little bit of a log jam as we get deeper down with Dayton, St. Joe's, and St. Louis, all at 9-6. And then we start to dip below 500 with Duquesne, St. Bonaventure's, and George Washington, followed by Rhode Island, Davidson, UMass, Richmond, LaSalle, and Fordham. Obviously, as I said, looks like one, maybe two, if someone outside of VCU can win this conference. The one thing I will say, George Mason, do not sleep on them. They've been very good. And VCU and George Mason are a combined 30-1 at home this year overall, not just in conference, but overall. But Raider Jim, your thoughts on the Atlantic 10?
Yeah, Atlantic 10, to me, it looks like it's just very simple. It's a two-horse race. No way about it. And VCU is definitely the leader right there in that two-horse field against George Mason. Each team has 2 games left. VCU is going to go against Duquesne, and they're going to play against Dayton. George Mason is going to play LaSalle and Richmond. Now, 1 week ago, VCU played George Mason, and they took care of business by 16 points, beat them 70-54. And as I was looking at the rosters, now the one thing I see is VCU's got a couple nice guards. Max Shulga, 6'5", 14 points average. Joe Bamisil, and he's also 6'4", averaging 14 points. On the rebounding side, offensive rebounds, they have this kid, Christian Furman, gets a fair amount of playing team, good on the offensive boards, and on the defensive side, they've got Cat Clark. Also have a kid on the team that is making a little bit of noise. He's got some playing time, but they're saying not so much this year, but watch out for him next year, and he's going to be probably one of the leaders on the team. Alfonso Fats Billups III. No relation to Chauncey Billups, if anybody's wondering. And it just happens that on George Mason, there's also a kid named Billups, also not related to Chauncey Billups. And then there's another team, just looking in the future, there is a redshirt sophomore that they've got on the team, Obaniah Okafor, 6'9", 215. I'm assuming he must be of the bloodline of Emeka Okafor, the dominant guy from UConn a few years back. And watch out. What's interesting about this is just kind of a side note. When you go on the VCU site and you pull up the team roster, they not only list, height, weight, grade, et cetera, hometown. They have an option to let the kids put in their Twitter handles, their Instagram handles, and there's even a column for contact for NIL opportunities, which I think is almost shameful. But, I guess in the smaller markets like that, hey, maybe, they get the ice cream store nearby to reach out to them and get a plug. So VCU, I think they're definitely the guys to beat. George Mason, though, don't sleep on them. They've got Darius Maddox, 6'5" senior guard, averaging 13 points. Jalen Hayes, 6'8" forward, averaging 13 points. And Jalen Haynes weighs 265 pounds. He is one beast at the forward position. And then on their rebounding side of things, they've got Jared Billups, the other Billups kid playing, and Giovanni. Let's see if I can get this. Giovanni Emajuru, uh, both very, very respectful, and they're going to keep George Mason in the game. I just think VCU's got too much horsepower, and I think they're going to handily win the tournament.
Yeah, I was going through it, and obviously, look, VCU, you mentioned what they put together, and that's a really, really impressive team and really impressive program that's really been, I mean, what, it was just, what, 10, 12 years ago or so, they were from the, one of the first play-in teams to go to the Final Four out of the A-10, or they might have been in the Colonial all the way back then. Who knows? I don't know. But anyways, George Mason is the team that I did kind of want to focus on just because I do think they have the best opportunity to dethrone VCU. Even though I'm kind of with you, I would fully expect VCU to take care of business, especially for their own seating, because they would love to get up to that 5, maybe even the 4. Looks like they're knocking on the door of top 25 ranking that would put them there. I really do like the duo of Maddox and Haynes, the inside out game between those two. Two very different players. You got one guy who is going to jack up 137 threes this year, and Jalen Haynes, I should say, only 14. But at the same time, I would tell Mr. Haynes that's probably 13 too many. He's 1 for 14 this year, only poking a little bit of fun. Look, that's not his game. But that inside out game is very, very impressive. Offensively, I think that they would be able to maybe stand with them. I worry about the defensive side of things. And I am so glad you took on the challenge of going after Giovanni Emajuru, because I probably didn't even get close. But he's another guy that's comes off the bench. And I think that's really important in the tournament, because a lot of these teams, they're going to be top heavy, and that second wave to come in, those are your opportunities to maybe chip away at a lead or build on a lead. So I really do like when you do see teams that, he still gets 17, 18 minutes a game. But he's coming off of the bench. He is, I would assume, I mean, I haven't seen any George Mason. I'm just kind of looking over the stats, seeing some highlights. I would assume he's the he subs in for Jalen Haynes most of the time. Maybe they are on this floor about the same time, but it's very interesting. I mean, again, looking through it, it looks like George Mason's running what a lot of teams do, which is a 4-guard set, which is great. I understand it. It's really easy on the eyes. I just wonder what happens when you get into March and you look across and you're like, wait, they have 4 guys that are over 6'10"? Uh-oh. So we'll see going forward. But again, you take what's given to you, and I think a lot of these smaller schools, I mean, even for San Diego State for a while, it was essentially a 4-guard set. Maybe your 6'8" guy plays whatever you want to call it, but he's the tallest guy on the floor. I would say that's maybe the biggest holdup I would have with George Mason. Just diving into them, and essentially, I really do think VCU is just head and shoulders above everyone else. George Mason maybe a little closer, but again, unless they get lucky in the conference tournament, I do think we're going to see VCU probably winning the regular season and conference tournament titles as well.